Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, when deeply practicing Prajna Paramita, realized that five aggregates are empty and became free from all suffering and distress. O Sariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. The same is true of sensation, perception, impulses, and consciousness. O Sariputra, they do not appear or disappear, are not tainted, do not increase or decrease, therefore in emptiness. No form, no sensation, no perceptions, no impulses, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind consciousness, no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, no extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva relies on Prajna Paramita. Therefore, the mind has no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist. Free from delusion, one dwells in Nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future rely on Prajna Paramita and attain supreme enlightenment. Therefore, know that Prajna Paramita is the great mantra, is the great enlightening mantra, is the answer path and unequal mantra, which is able to eliminate all suffering. This is true, therefore, so proclaim the Prajna Paramita mantra, which says, gone, gone, gone beyond, far beyond, now awaken, kate, kate, para, kate, prasham, kate, bodhisvaha. Okay, thank you. If you read this Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra and you think it does not make sense at all, then you get it right. What can be sure that we have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind? But the Heart Sutra says no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. As long as we are on earth, we cannot see very clearly the earth is round. Only after when you go out of the earth, you can see the real shape of the earth. It is round, not the flat. So only after you become free from all your thoughts, dualistic thought that arise from your idea of ego entity, you can grasp the ultimate reality or no self. So that's we contemplate at this retreat. Several American scientists experimented the verbal communication ability of animals. They trained chimpanzee for several years so that it can eventually memorize and command almost 50 English words. They're very excited what the chimpanzee would say. What could be its first sentence? What does he really want to say? Maybe it can be, I'm thirsty, or I want a banana, and so on. Do you know what that chimpanzee said? Let me out. That chimpanzee, that's a precious thing. They invest a lot of money, so probably it was well fed and taken care of very well. But what that chimpanzee really wanted was he would like to get out of the cage. Why people want a divorce or would like to change their occupation, or would like to go somewhere during our vacation. From one perspective, it is one aspect of a saying, let me out. But the problem is people does not know exactly how they would get out of the prison, our mental prison. When you read Zen book, probably in the first chapter, you may encounter this story. Bodhidharma is the founder of Chinese Zen Buddhism. When Bodhidharma was meditating in the cave, one day he was visited by one young person, Hega. He was a pretty well-known Confucian scholar. And Hega asked, my mind is not at easy. My mind is not comfortable with so many worries. Master, please pacify my mind. Please send my mind to rest. Then what did Bodhidharma reply? Show me your uneasy mind. Show me uneasy mind. The young man hesitated for a moment in order to show the master his uneasy mind. And he tried to look for that mind to show it to the teacher. But it's very hard to show his uneasy mind. So he replied, Master, I cannot show you my uneasy mind. Then the master replied, then I already pacified your mind. That's the number one story in Zen. At the moment that young man attained his first awakening, he later became the second patriarch of Zen Buddhism. They say when a dog is hit by a stone, the dog chases after the stone. When the lion is hit by a stone, the lion chases after the person who cast the stone. So, what's the essence of Bodhidharma's teaching? That Hega asked. He was curious. He would like to know why I worry, why I suffer. But Bodhidharma would like to show or pinpoint. You need to know who suffers. Who suffers? The reality, the entity that feels the suffering and the happiness. So Heart Sutra says, when Bodhisattva of great compassion, when he was practicing prajna paramita, realized that all five aggregates are our body and mind, sensations, perceptions, impulses, and the consciousness, are empty and became free from all suffering and distress. In other words, when we know the reality of ourselves, then we can be free from all suffering and distress. So our second head Dharma master, Venerable Chongsan, said, the first passage is the essence of Heart Sutra. Heart Sutra is the essence of all Buddhist scripture. That's why in the Mahayana Buddhist temple, whenever they have service, they always chant Heart Sutra. The original title of Heart Sutra is Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Sutra is a scripture or the path. Heart, which is our internal organs. So Heart Sutra means essential scripture or essential path. Paramita means crossing over, moving from the shore of suffering to the shore of nirvana, paramita. Prajna means innate wisdom, innate wisdom. There are a lot of words, Sanskrit words, that says knowledge or wisdom. So prajna is one of them. It's translated as innate wisdom. For example, in English, we have knowledge. When you listen to my talk, when you read something, you learn something. That's the knowledge. But you start to contemplate. What you read start to internalize and become your own thing. When you experience that again and again, it will become the wisdom. That's your thing. But there is another level of wisdom, so-called prajna. Pra means just like the English word, pre, it's before, foremost, first. Jnana means the wisdom. It is the wisdom that's already inherent with our mind, which you do not have to cultivate or experience. So just like the sun is always there, whether it's cloudy or windy. But why prajna is important? It has some power. Prajna itself is the light. So when Jesus said, I'm the light of the world, it's the same thing, light. However, you study hard the psychology, the study of the mind, I don't think it would help greatly to break, for example, your bad habit. That knowledge may not be very helpful. But when we start to understand our original mind, our true self, then we can become very naturally let go of our attachments, cravings, be free from bad habits and so on. So prajna has that kind of a power. So the Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra literally means the essential teaching to go over to nirvana. How? By means of a prajna, by realizing our true self. That's the meaning of the title. Five aggregates are empty. We are composed of body and mind. Mind is a little subtle, so Buddha classified into 4 domains: sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness. Let's just think about what is the characteristic or the nature of our body and mind. So, form means that it's a physical body as well as all phenomena in this world. Wood, microphone, gong, which has some physical form. When I was in elementary school, in the yard, in the winter, I happened to find a very small bird which was frozen to death. I felt a little sorry for that little bird. I buried the dead into the ground. The next year, probably almost 1 year passed. One day I was very curious about that bird. Was that still there? So I digged up the dirt, and I was very surprised. There was no bird there. I thought, my sister moved that bird to another place. But I dig another place around it. But my brother was in the junior high, told me, I think that little bird got already decayed and disappeared. So I thought to myself, wow, nobody touched that bird, but it automatically disappears. It's just so strange to me. Later, I discovered that everything is changing, not that little bird. The sun, star, this tree gone. Some is changing pretty slow, like this kind of some harder thing, or bone. But everything is constantly changing into another form. It's impermanent. But think about this body. It arises because on some condition of what I eat, what I drink. Because of my parents, I come in this world. Everything arises on some causes and conditions, and eventually disappear. That's the natural characteristic of all form, all phenomena. How about sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness? For example, sensation. When I see Kathy, for example, wow, she wears a black pants. It's a black, that's a sensation. Perceptions, probably that's a such and such a brand. Depending on my experience, a thought can arise. I should buy it after this retreat. That's impulse. Where should I go? I should ask. That kind of thought become embedded in my mind, in our consciousness. So think about what are the characteristics of sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness. They all arise on a certain condition. For example, when my eyes come in contact with some form, some visual sensation arise. Depending on that sensation, some perceptions arise. For example, wow, that must be very expensive brand, for example. Our impulse can be followed. I should buy it, whatever. And it's embedded in our consciousness. Korean Zen master Gyeongbong asked to his student after the retreat, 3-month Zen retreat, and so, for example, would you come to me? And when the student sit in front of him, show me your hand. Then he, with his hand, he make a clapping sound. And yes, bring me back the sound. Then how to reply? Bring me back the sound. You cannot bring it back. It already disappeared. Yeah. You can make the sound again. It's a very profound reality. Everything is constantly changing into another form. Nothing has a substance, inherent existence. They cannot exist in and of itself, whether it's your thoughts or emotions or physical thing. They cannot have any inherent existence which have some intrinsic characteristic. That's the meaning of why 5 aggregates are empty. Empty of, when you see the original Sanskrit, empty of substance, intrinsic nature. When you see, for example, your photo that's taken when you are in junior high, seeing that photo, you can say, well, that's me. That's me means your body, 20, 30 years ago. Or think about our usage of our world. For example, my mind or my body. We believe or presuppose there is some entity where your body and mind belong. Just like when we have a tree, one root or one trunk comes out, lots of branches. My teacher, when she was very young, she asked for teacher who is very respected Zen master. So the typical Zen question, what is mind? What is mind? Then the master replied, your speech, your question, you're saying is your mind. But she asked again, no. My saying, my words comes from my mind. How do you think? You still think you're saying, your word, my word comes from your mind? That's what we needed to investigate. Why we have that kind of idea of ego entity or sense of a self? Sense of a self. It's one of the reasons is we are fooled by the language that we use, especially some concepts, which is the building block for our communication. I usually ask this question in order to tell the difference. What is a concept? What is the reality? So let me ask this question. Does the fruit really exist? Fruit. You eat some fruit for breakfast. So Beth, how do you think? Does the fruit really exist? If it does not exist, you could not eat. Yeah. But let us think in this way. What's really existent is apple, pear, kiwi, watermelon, and so on. Fruit is a concept for a certain category. What really exists is some particular fruit. Then let me ask you again, does the apple really exist? Apple. In the same way, what really exists is Macintosh, Gala, Honey Crispy, Red Delicious, some particular type of apple. Likewise, what really exists when we say I, our life is based on I, my, me. What really exists is form, sensations, impulses, and consciousness. What is the characteristic of these five aggregates? It's constantly changing. It's impermanent. It does not have any inherent existence. It arises and ceases depending on cause and conditions. In other words, self, I, is just a name, not the reality. We have to see it very clearly. What I say, what you listen is just using our intelligence. When you read the original Sanskrit, realize the five aggregates are empty. Realize is quite a free translation. Sma, Sanskrit, sma literally means see very clearly. See very clearly. So, can you get my word, my speech comes from my mind? That's the wrong answer, even though we think in that way. Your speech is your mind. That's the correct answer. At this retreat, contemplate that. So read and contemplate this Heart Sutra on and off. So let me quote one Buddha's word. Buddha told Shariputra, the most wise disciple of Buddha, form is simply a name. Likewise, sensations, perception, memory, and consciousness are simply names. Shariputra. The self is simply a name. There is no self that can ever be found, and it cannot be found because it is empty. How our concept distort our mind. It becomes an obstacle for us to see the reality as they are. Let me tell you my experience. When I worked at the Won Institute, we pre-ministers took a turn to preside morning meditation. But in that meditation hall, the table clock, the tick-tock sound, it was too loud. I could not concentrate in the morning meditation. So I went to the Willow Grove to buy very quiet digital table clock. You call that tick-tock, eh? Tick-tock. Yeah. My English was very low at the time, the first. Do you know in Korean how tick-tock is pronounced? Tok-tak. We call that tok-tak. So I went to the store and asked, is there any table clock that does not make a loud tok-tak sound? But he could understand. Why? But the funny thing is, to the ears of Korean, it actually sounds like a tok-tak. To you, it sounds like a tick-tock. Even though each and every clock's sound is different. In Korean, the sound of a pig, we call that 꿀꿀. You call that oink oink. It depends on the type of a pig. Some pigs are young, old, depending on its mood. It always makes different sound. But to you, it actually sounds like very close to oink. To Koreans, it sounds like 꿀꿀. Because that concept is already embedded in our mind. Likewise, concept actually distort our mind. That's why meditation is very important, to see the reality, to be free from all concepts and thoughts. So when physical and the mental aggregates are working together, the idea of ego entity, sense of a self, is created. We tend to think there is some that invisible entity that's a pure illusion and delusion. So we need to contemplate these things. When you peel off onions, let's say, what is the reality, ultimate reality of an onion? In order to investigate that, you can peel off all the layers of an onion, one by one. What do you get eventually at last? Nothing. Onion is just the aggregates of all layers. There is no core being. Likewise, you are just the aggregate. Body, sensations, impulses, and the consciousness. There is no core. Your experience does not belong to anybody. From this life to that life, from this moment to that moment, nothing is carried on in the same way. That's why in Buddhism they say, ego is not the object of hatred. It is the object of investigation. If you investigate, just like you investigate water, H2O, then you can understand it. When we investigate the reality of ourselves, then, as the Heart Sutra says, we can be free from all suffering and distress. It does not say our suffering and distress will become alleviated. We can sever the root of suffering. That's why awakening, enlightenment is that important. Buddhism, the original word, 불교, literally means the teaching or the path of enlightenment. So what's the last passage of the Heart Sutra? Kate kate, para kate, parashankate bodhisattva. The Sanskrit means gone to the other shore. What an awakening. So in this last paragraph, which Buddha really would like to say to his students to save them. So Buddha asks us, let us reflect where our mind is going, where our life is going. Is that going to the shore of enlightenment or not? So that is a last interesting word. So during the retreat, it may take decades, not years, to understand the meaning of the heart. The more we understand that, the more we will have the freedom of mind. So let's contemplate Heart Sutra, and let's contemplate the direction of our life during this retreat. Thank you.